Hello everyone, I am Parul Dang and I'll be talking about VLOOKUP formula today. VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel is used to find a value in a table basis on some known value. So for example, let's assume we have an employee table and we are aware about the employee ID, and basis on that employee ID we want to find the salary of an employee. We can do that using VLOOKUP. So let's get started with the syntax. This is a syntax of VLOOKUP formula whose first argument is primary value. By primary value, we mean that a value that you know. Second argument is table to look in. Here you have to pass the reference of the entire table where you want to find the value. And third argument is the column number whose value you want to find basis on this primary value. And the last argument is match, which can be either true or false. We'll talk about it later. So let's jump to our first example. I have got an employee table here where there are 4 columns: employee ID, employee name, salary, and date of joining. Let's assume that we are aware about the employee ID of Chris, which is 6 here. I want to find out the salary of this employee based on his employee ID. So I'll be making the use of VLOOKUP formula. As we have already talked, that each and every formula in Microsoft Excel starts with equals to sign. So we'll begin with equals. We'll write down VLOOKUP. You do not need to write the entire formula. You just press tab and the entire formula will take up itself. Now, lookup value, the value that you know. So I know here the employee ID. So what I'll do, I'll just write down 6 here. I know the employee ID of Chris is 6. So I wrote down value 6, comma. The next argument that we need to pass is table array. That is the entire table in which we want to find the value. One important point to note down here is the value that you know, the lookup value that you know should be should be in the first column of your selection. For example, here I have to select the table where I want to look up the value. If you see here, the value that I entered 6 is in the first column of my selection. So you have to make sure that the lookup value is in the first column of your selection. By selection, we mean that the table or the area which we are selecting in which the VLOOKUP formula will work. So if I instead of passing the employee ID, what if I pass the employee name? Now since it's in the second column of the table, whenever I'll be selecting the table, I will begin my selection from the second column. I will not select the first column. So the lookup value should always be in the first column of your selection. So let's write 6 here only and then select the entire table. Now comma, the third argument is column index number, the column number in which the value uh, lies that you want to find out. So for example, in the table, I want to find out the salary of an employee whose employee ID is 6. Now in my selection, the column that I want to look in is the third column. So column starts from number 1. This is the first column, second column, and third column. I want to find out the salary. Salary is the third column of my selection, so I will pass 3 here, comma. Here there are two match or range lookup values, either true or false. So you can use any value here. There is a difference between true and false where it is useful and how it can be used. I'll be talking about that in my third example. As of now, you can use true or false. So if I press enter, I will find out the value of this employee. So Chris salary is $4,000. So VLOOKUP formulas just gives you the value, not the format. It's in the dollar format. If you want the same format, then you simply have to press dollar symbol here. it will be changed to the same value. So that's how we got the salary of an employee whose employee ID was known to us. Here I have used employee ID as the lookup value, which is always unique. So it makes sure that I'll be always getting the correct and only atomic value. But what about if we have the lookup value which is not unique? For example, instead, let's assume we do not know the employee ID of an employee, but we know his or her name. And basis on the name, we want to find out salary. So since names can be duplicate, let's see how VLOOKUP will work there. I have got an example here. So here there is no column of employee ID. We have only three columns: employee name, salary, and date of joining, where employee names can be unique, can be duplicate. So for example, there are three names which are same, John. So I want to find out the salary of John. Let's write down the formula. VLOOKUP. Since the lookup value is a text and texts are always within double quotes, so we will write down John within double quotes, comma, and now we have to give the table array, comma, column index number. Column index number would be 2 here because we want to find out salary, and salary is the second column of the selection. 2 and false. Let's use false here. Enter. See, I have got the salary of first employee whose name is John. There were three John in the table, and the salary is different of all the three Johns. But I have got the salary of first John. So VLOOKUP starts looking up the value from the beginning of the table and goes down in this way. Wherever the lookup value that we have passed to the formula finds, it stops there and return its corresponding value. So I asked VLOOKUP to find the salary of John. It started from the beginning. It stopped here because it has found John, and then it returned the salary of this John. It doesn't bother about the next occurrences of the same lookup value. So it will stop here only. This is how VLOOKUP works with the duplicate values. So whenever we are using VLOOKUP formula, we try to find out, or we try to use that lookup value which is unique in the table. Then only we can make sure that the value that is returned as the atomic value or single value. So this is a duplicate value. Now it's time to talk about the fourth argument, true and false, with the matching criteria. This is the third example where we'll be talking about the fourth argument, true and false. If you see here, I have got a table where the salary lower bound is the first column and tax is the second column. So this is a tax table. We know that if our salary is within this range, 0 to 2,50,000, then our tax is nil. If it is above 2,50,000, it is 5%, and if it is above 5 lakhs, it is 10%, and if it is above 10 lakhs, then it is 20%. So we want to find out the tax percentage basis on the salary that I will enter here. Let's start writing the formula first. VLOOKUP. Lookup value would be the salary that I enter here. So let's take the reference of this cell as the lookup value, comma, table array that we have, comma. I want to find out the tax percentage, and tax is the second column of the table. So the column index number would be 2 here, comma. Now I have got two arguments, either true or false. Let's write false first. So it returned nil because I haven't entered anything and it has taken the value 0. Let's write down the value 5 lakhs. I got the value 10%, which is fine. Let's enter 10 lakhs. I got the value 20%. It's working fine. What if I write 7 lakhs here? It will return nothing because 7 lakh is not within the table. It means that the fourth argument false means the value should be existing in the table. it it returns the exact match. It doesn't return the approximate match. So if the lookup value is not within the table, it will return nothing. But considering this table, if my salary is 7 lakhs, I know that I will be taxed 10%, because if my salary is within this range, I should be taxed 10% only, right? So when I enter 7 lakhs here, I should be given 10% as an answer. So for that purpose, we will be using true as true here. So what true does is, if the value that we are looking for does not exist in the table, then it returns the value of the immediate lowest lookup value. Means, see, it returned 10%. So let's see how it worked. It starts looking for the value vertically from above to top, from top to bottom. Uh, it knows that 7 lakhs is not there. And if 7 lakhs is not there, which is the immediate lowest value above 7 lakhs, which is 5 lakhs. So immediate below value of 7 lakh is 5 lakhs. So it will use this lookup value and will return its corresponding value that the column index is. So we wanted tax here, it returned the 10% of 5 lakhs only. Similarly, let's try some other example. I entered 12 lakhs. Since 12 lakh is not there, which value is the immediate below then 12 lakhs, which is 10 lakhs? So I should be returned 20%. I will be given 20%. That's how we can use true as the fourth argument for approximate match, where the values represent a range, not the unique value. So that's all in the lookup formula. Here we had small set of data, but it is very useful when the data is very huge. So let's consider a store's data where there are 20 to 25 columns and thousands of rows, and basis on order ID we want to find out the order date, which can be any column in the table. So instead of looking manually, would be a very cumbersome process. We have to have some kind of shortcut or technique to find the value within the table. So here we have the VLOOKUP formula, which we can use to find any value in the table basis on some known value. Known value can be anything, and the value to be found can be anything. Just one thing that you have to make sure is the lookup value should be in the first column of the selection that we are giving to the VLOOKUP formula. Thanks for watching the video. That's all about VLOOKUP. Thank you.